All right, welcome to the Postgame podcast. No Jerry Recco. Today I've got the Eddie Schizzeri with me. Good morning, Eddie.
Hello, podcast and YouTube people.
Yeah, oh yeah, the YouTube people. Oh, there's dozens of them on
Yes,
YouTube who are
dozens.
watching. I think this gets posted later at night,
Uh-huh.
like 6 in the afternoon, which is like midnight for you and I,
Right.
very late. And if you want it on the regular audio podcast, that's available by like
11
11 o'clock
o'clock,
ish. Yep.
usually.
Absolutely. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always catch the warm up program, which is
Mm-hmm.
available if you go on your podcast platforms and search Alan Jerry Post Game Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm doing this thing with Jerry. I think I gave him a deadline of Monday on the podcast. I gave him a list of all 50 states, and I've asked Jerry to eliminate states and then come to a final conclusion of what is the best state to live in.
For you personally.
For me personally, for Jerry
Mm-hmm.
personally. And I told Jerry some of the things that, I would consider for why I would pick a particular state over
Mm-hmm.
another. I think, certainly when you retire, there are states that don't have an income tax, like Florida. Then there are other states that have an income tax but don't tax your 401k or other, Roth IRAs, that sort of stuff, or IRAs, that sort of thing. So to me, those would be things that would factor in. I don't want to live somewhere, I think, where there's big natural disasters,
Mm-hmm.
extreme cold temperatures. So these are the sorts of things. So if you were to get a list of the 50 states, how do you think you would begin eliminating the states?
Well, for me, it would be weather would be probably the first
So
criteria.
you would look at that more than, like, say, tax implications and things. You don't.
Yeah, because I think I'll have enough choices.
Okay.
So I'm going to, eliminate the South,
Hmm.
basically.
Too
And
hot.
yes, and I would eliminate the West just because now me personally, I would love it, but my wife, her family situation doesn't want to be too far away, blah
Right.
blah blah.
That's another thing you have to consider.
Correct.
Do I want to be near family?
Right.
Because I do see a lot of people that do, they retire and they move to a beautiful part of the country,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not near family. And
Right.
that does come back to bite you in the
It
ass
can.
as you get older or they get older.
Right. Well, but in retirement, you would have theoretically more time. And if you're not strapped financially, you could easily hop on a plane or get in your car and drive to wherever or fly to wherever you want
Yeah.
to. So to me, that shouldn't be that much of a consideration. But for my wife, it is whatever. So I lost that one.
Okay.
So I want to basically, and also, like you said, the natural disaster situation, that's a factor.
You take that into account.
Yeah. And for me, it's coming down to New England, upstate New York, Massachusetts, uh, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Those are basically where I'm looking.
And then how do you even pick from there, though, right? So you've narrowed down, which is great.
Hmm.
Not easy to do. You've narrowed down that northeast corridor area
Yes.
there. Then like we know nothing about these places, right? There
W-
could be a great place in Maine that you're not aware of, or a great place in New Hampshire. Like, how do you then choose from there?
Well, I've had, through this last, I don't know, 20 years, we've vacationed in the summertime a lot in Vermont and New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. Not as much upstate New York recently, although I am familiar with it for sure. So I have been in those areas and have a feel for the areas.
And
So,
then how they differ from one another.
yeah, which is not drastic in my opinion. Um, no way, when I went up to Fort Kent, Maine, which is way at the top of Maine, at the end of Route 1, that was a different feel, because it's right across the border from Canada. Not that, it was fine, it was nice, it was pleasant. The, population is, like, I think a half Acadian, like, French speaking, which is also fine. So, but that is very well, for my wife, it's very far. Like, it's a 10 plus hour drive from Edison, New Jersey
Damn.
to get up there. Um, so that probably is not on the table, but maybe a down east Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So since we've already thought about this a lot, so the natural disaster, the cold, cooler weather, that's a good area for that. And then when you get, I've narrowed it down. Then the other factors can come in with the taxation situation.
So you look at
And,
those areas, you
and
go, I got these
right,
states in mind. Okay, now which of these
hmm
states
right.
has a better
A-
tax situation
And my wife,
and home prices and all that
correct,
stuff?
right, all of that. And then my wife also has the criteria of wanting to be within a reasonable distance of a real hospital. So that's another criteria, because of my
So that'd
situation.
be when you're picking a state. Now, when you're going to go pick a town,
Correct.
you're going to consider, is there a real legit big time hospital
Yes.
nearby?
Where, you're not going to have to be medevaced somewhere,
Right.
or like, oh yeah, the doc will be in Tuesday.
We'll see you then.
Right. So yeah, so those are
That's a good one.
considerations for us.
Yeah. Do you also look anytime I look in like the places that do articles about where to retire, they
hmm
always look for like fun things to do for retirees.
Yeah. Well, for me, I like to walk in the woods with my dogs. So, that's pretty simple as long as there's some area with, because New Jersey still has areas where,
Yeah.
they're not remote, but still you can go for a nice walk in the woods in New Jersey for sure.
So New Jersey is off the list. There's
It is
no
not.
it is not. So there's still a potential
Yeah,
that
there's
you
still.
retire in New
Yeah, and I,
Jersey and
I
stay
should
there.
also throw like parts of Connecticut in there, northwestern New Jersey for sure, up near High Point, if familiar with that. What
Yes.
area? Okay, so up in that up in that area, in the north western part of New Jersey. That would also be on the list.
Would you consider political
It
implications like
wouldn't.
this is a Republican state, this is a Democrat state, this is an open carry state, this is no one's
Well,
walking around with
if
guns,
you look around, I think most states are open carry. I do believe that. There's
except for
different.
us.
Yeah, but I think it's there's different levels. Certainly, you can. I don't know if every state you can drive around with a shotgun on your dashboard there, but I think most states are more lenient than New York and New Jersey in terms of firearms. And by the way, Pennsylvania I'll also add into that list
Yeah.
potentially. Although I would like to go up into New England myself, but we'll see what happens. With the whole wife where she wants to be,
Yeah.
and not more than political. Um, that for my wife, who is Chinese, of Chinese heritage, she's born here. Don't get crazy, anybody. So for her, she wants to feel comfortable in a community,
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
some of the places we've been out west, in more sort of rural Montana and Wyoming, she doesn't get a great feel. Now, far West Coast, Seattle, Portland, like there's a larger Asian population in those areas, but some of the other more remote Western areas, not so much. And and I can sympathize, I can't empathize because I'm not
Yeah, that's
a
just something I would
minority.
never have thought of, but makes
Right.
sense now when you say it.
Correct. So those are all things that are factors for us.
Hmm. So do you have like this written down somewhere where you've eliminated states and you have states up on the board?
Well, like, just on a piece of paper, I wrote that because for me, it was like I had New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Washington, and Oregon. Those are off the
Those
list,
are off. They've been
primarily
eliminated.
because of the family
Hmm.
proximity. Which again, for me, I don't think it's a big deal if you're retired, blah, 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 jump on a plane, get in a car, have the dogs, whatever. So, not a big deal, but for her, a bigger deal. So I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah.
And then some of those areas in some of those Western states, she would not feel comfortable. So it's not so much red or blue, but it's more is she's going to feel comfortable in a community. So that's a larger factor. The red or blue thing. By the way, those things can change over the
Oh
years.
yeah.
Over a span. Hopefully, I'll live 20 years after I retire. But those things like we see in New Jersey is getting more purplish.
Yeah.
And there are times in the past of every state where it's been one color, now it's another color.
Right.
So who knows how those things are going to change.
Yeah, you could also live like if you're looking politically at things, like I know Texas
Hmm.
is a red state.
Hmm.
But if you go move to Austin, you are in a blue part of the state,
Right.
right?
And most of the larger cities in the country are more blue.
Yes.
Houston and Dallas, and I don't know about San Antonio. I don't know about like El Paso. That's another place I would, consider, like that northwestern corner of or the western part of Texas. But it's mountains. It's pretty, and that's another thing. I want mountains, some at least big hills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's another criteria for me, which I know the areas that I've mentioned all have that.
Yeah, it's interesting because working here at WFAN, I'm answering the phone calls, right?
Hmm.
So I get a lot of calls from people who were from here
Hmm.
and they're either listening on the Odyssey app from somewhere else or they're on CBS Sports Network, but they're interested because it's a New York show and they're able to see it where they retired
Hmm.
to. And I'm always so curious how people choose the place to retire because some people call from North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and then random places that you wouldn't even think of. I just wonder how someone decides Florida over South Carolina or vice versa.
Right.
Like how do
Yeah.
they pick those things?
I think for a lot of people from this area, it's weather.
Yeah.
I think it's weather and then taxes, I believe.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not, a snowbird, as they say, who likes to, go away from cold and go to the warmer places in the winter. I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah, in the winter you decided to vacation somewhere colder than
Yes,
where we are.
to where there was a potential that the ambient temperature could be like -30
-30.
on my vacation.
Hmm.
But, yeah, I'm not looking for that extreme for as a daily occurrence, but I like snow, I like the change of seasons.
And your wife likes that as well?
Yes.
She likes cold weather?
Mhm.
Colder
Not
weather.
not not as much as me, in terms she likes the seasons and it being cooler and doesn't really love the heat either, but, she is not quite as cold tolerant as I am, and we're always sort of she wants to turn the thermostat up and I want to turn it down.
It's like our battle in the, control room.
Yeah, no
We've
battle.
we've settled on 69.
For a long time.
Yeah. It's right, like, when you were out for a week, I put it up to 70. Not a lot, not
Could you feel the
a
difference?
little bit, yeah, and it actually,
Mhm.
it's funny, I got used to the 69, that the 70 felt a little warm,
Yeah.
a little stuffy.
And also, and this has been the case since pandemic, we leave the door open, even though
Yeah.
we probably don't have to anymore. But there's hardly anyone here, so it's not a big deal but that would make a difference too. And I think it would keep it warmer if we had the
Yeah, it seems would be stuffy.
also true.
2 people in a box.
Yeah. And now we're used to it, so
Yeah.
I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't even consider that we could have the door closed.
Right, but also there's no one here. Used to
Yeah.
be people around, but
Yes.
there's, no one here anymore.
Yeah, we got nobody here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to work on my list of eliminating states this weekend. It's just a shame that so many beautiful places to live have the natural disasters.
There's a lot.
A
Well,
lot.
Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, coastal Georgia,
Yeah, the
coastal Carolina,
Carolinas.
coastal Carolina,
Yeah.
sure. But then even if the storm moves in or moves up, it could like the devastating floods they had in the Carolinas
Yeah.
this year. And then out west, you have wildfires, you have earthquakes. And
Mudslides.
yeah, in the Midwest, you have tornadoes.
Yes.
See, and in the far north, you have the cold, which you don't like. But for me, that's why New England is, unless they get into a severe drought situation, they're subject to the wildfires like the West is, which who the hell knows what's going to happen there. But, for the most part, I think New England is pretty clear. Like they'll have a random hurricane which will come up and then penetrate into interior New England with enough rain to cause floods.
Yeah.
But that's not that common.
Yeah, I think all you're worrying about up there is snow. You get
Yeah,
snowed
which
in.
for me is That's a plus for me to
Yeah.
have snow.
And if you're not commuting to work, you don't worry
Correct.
about the
That's
snow.
another thing. Retired, so
Yeah.
I could take 8 hours to shovel my driveway so I don't get a heart attack.
Yes.
So that's fine.
And if you do, you'll be near a legitimate
Yes,
hospital
correct. Right, I'll be
to
right
where
there.
you can go.
Right.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just so interesting how much where our family lives really determines where we live
hmm
for
Yeah, for a lot of people.
a lot of people. Yeah.
Right. Now, my parents and her parents have passed already. So worrying about mom and dad, taking care of them, that's off the table for us.
Hmm.
So it's just the proximity to her two sisters who live in the DC area that is more of a concern for her.
And you have a sister in Utah?
I have two sisters in
Oh,
Utah,
both two sisters in
and
Utah.
my two older sisters are in Utah, and my younger sister is in Staten Island, in the house that I grew up in.
Oh, cool.
hmm
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to explore different places.
Yeah. So for me, I'm more advanced or down this road
Yeah.
than you and Jerry, because I've actually given it. My wife and I have given it a lot of thought over the years.
Jerry's referenced off the air about like Aruba. He goes, Aruba is beautiful weather on the water and they're not in the hurricane belt.
hmm
But that's a foreign country, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know what the immigration things
yeah,
are.
I have
Like
no idea.
I would consider parts of Canada, but it's not easy to emigrate now.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Right. They're like, why are you coming here?
And also, I think, like, even though they have whatever, I think they have national health care, I
I
think.
think so. Yeah.
But if you were to emigrate no,
You know what's so
it
funny?
takes you a while to get to that status.
And this is cocky American talking.
hmm
I would think every country would be interested in an American immigrating there for no reason. Like, why are you coming? Oh, I'd like to live there.
hmm
Not thinking that there are policies in all of these countries as to whether you can come in or not, and
Yeah.
and what benefits you get
Right.
or don't get that the people who live there and are from there get,
Right.
the
Now,
citizens.
if you're rich enough, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could afford the services that you aren't given. And if you have enough to offer someplace, they could take you in and, maybe say, oh, well, these are the rules, but person is giving us this, this, and this.
Yeah.
If there's some whatever scientist who is going to go work for the government, whatever it is, so there are ways around it, but those are not available to me.
Yeah. I'd be like, I would move to a country where they're not getting into wars.
Yeah,
You know what
well,
I mean? Like,
yes,
I don't know if those
correct.
exist anymore, but I want a country that just like relaxes. No one's after them. They're not after anybody. They're not on
hmm
sides. They just exist in their own little country
Right.
with no troubles.
But if the big one happens, it doesn't matter
Then
where
it
you
wouldn't
are.
matter, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. I thought of you this morning, Eddie. There was a free parking spot on the street, two of them
Mhm.
on one of our main roads that we park on, and
On Charlton?
on Charlton.
Okay.
And I could not get into either one of them.
Really?
Yeah, it was like just off for some reason. I really was thrown off by it because and I got a backup camera. You know what I mean? Like I got all the tools to get into a spot.
And you're talking about on the quote unquote bad side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see any on the
Oh
good
yeah, on the
side.
bad side. And I couldn't figure it out because when I eyeballed it, I looked like I could definitely get in here.
Yeah, and you're probably good.
I
But
probably, if I really kept working at it.
yeah, and if it's close, there's certain you have to get close, but not too close to, the when you do the parallel, you
Yeah.
have to pull up, at least within like 2 feet of the car that you're
Yeah.
paralleling, and then
I couldn't get close to the curb with the angle I was going in with
uh
these spots. I just
yeah, it happens.
couldn't do it. I was like,
You
this
know,
is
and even like in me, I'm good at it, practice at it. There's
yeah.
some times where, for whatever reason, that you just lose it
Yes.
for a second.
Yes. You're like, what is going on
Uh
here?
huh. But then I get mad and I'm like, I'm getting this effing thing.
It's like missing a chip shot field goal. It's like,
Yeah,
what am I doing?
exactly.
Concentrate, kick it
Right.
through.
Get the yips.
Yeah, I get the yips. Oh, especially, and when we're parking so early,
hmm
there's no one around.
Right.
If there's a crowd,
Oh, forget it.
I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like
It's
if I'm like in
embarrassing.
a local town that has parallel parking and it's a busy Saturday and I don't get in there on the first shot, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I'm embarrassing myself
And
at this
also
point.
depending on the traffic situation, you may not
Yes,
don't really have that much time.
right, because people are trying to get around you,
Right.
all that chaos.
Mhm.
All right, let's do the warm up program.
All right.
I did that with CeeLo this morning,
Yes, you did.
and I'll be back with CeeLo tomorrow at 5 a.m. We'll be
Mhm.
doing Cool Games Divisional Weekend.
Mhm. And first week on YouTube. So,
Yes, in the books.
yeah. So
So I hope they include the Seas. Oh, yeah. Oh, they do.